This is the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network, episode number 5. I'm Tom Albano, and along with me, as always, we have Nick Federa. Nick, how you doing today?
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Happy Saturday, indeed. I can't believe we've already at 5 episodes. I didn't think we were going to make it past 2.
We're chugging along. The train has square wheels, but we're chugging along.
This is the only train I've ever been on that has square wheels.
I wouldn't go have the buffet and back, though. I've heard people get food poisoning from that.
Oh, Lord.
This is the only train where you're actually guaranteed to get the runs on, so...
That's an understatement. All right, we got quite a bit to talk about. We have some drama in the world of basketball. We're actually going to bring up basketball again. We're also going to talk about... we're going to have a new segment.
Yes. It's gonna be a rant-filled episode, folks.
If you listen to last week's episode, you know what's coming with that segment.
Yes. It's going to be amazing.
But we're going to briefly talk about this. Unfortunately, earlier in this week, the world of baseball lost 2 of its, one young prospect and another former prospect. We're talking about Yordano, Ventura, and Andy Marte.
Yes, unfortunately, Yordano Ventura was killed during a car crash in the Dominican Republic, and the details are still being sussed out. But, this is just a tragic loss for that team, and, well, not only for the team, but for the city, because he was probably... The guy was only 25 years old. I mean, was probably one of the most exciting pitchers to watch over the last couple of years. And as we've seen Kansas City get better and better, they took a step back this past season, but as you watch them just get better and better, he was one of the main reasons as to why they were able to go to the World Series twice and win it 2 years ago. And it's tragic.
Yeah, it's tragic. His career was so young. This past season was only his 4th year in Major League Baseball. He debuted on September 17th, 2013, and his last appearance came on September 30th, 2016. He compiled a win-loss record of 38-31, an ERA of 3.89, a WHIP of 134, and 470 strikeouts. And those numbers would have just increased had this tragedy not occurred. And
yeah, exactly. As we saw last year with Jose Fernandez, unfortunately, these things do happen, and our deepest condolences to the team and to the city.
And I mean, I don't know if you've heard any update as to the other thing that I believe it was Pedro Martinez who mentioned it, that he supposedly had survived the crash but was left for dead and robbed. I think there's still an investigation going on into that.
I don't know, but I don't know. There's still an investigation ongoing, but they haven't proven anything yet.
I really hope that is not true.
We definitely, that is just horrific. And like I said, we desperately want that not to be true.
And it sucks that on the same night that happened, Andy Marte passed away in another separate car crash.
In the Dominican Republic.
Right. And it's just, one of those weird coincidences that in the final game, weren't they both in the final game? Ventura was the last starter that Marte ever faced.
Marte relieved him. That is, it's creepy. Actually, it is. But like I said, it's just a loss for all of baseball. In the same way that losing Oscar Taveras a couple of years ago and losing Jose Fernandez. The game can recover, but it
sucks.
Yeah, it's definitely taken a hit.
Just some background information on Marte, for those who don't know. He made his MLB debut on June 7th, 2005 for the Atlanta Braves. Then he spent the next 5 seasons with the Cleveland Indians. And then he actually took some time off from baseball between 2011 and 2013. He was not in the MLB. Well, technically, in 2011, he was. He played with the Indianapolis Indians of the AAA.
Yeah.
Marte then set out the 2012 season, and he actually played 2013 independent ball with the York Revolution before signing a minor league deal with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and he played with the Salt Lake Bees in the Pacific Coast League. Then he was traded to... Was he traded to the Diamondbacks? Or no, he was a free agent. He signed...
He signed with the Diamondbacks.
Signed with the Diamondbacks, went to the Reno Aces, their AAA team, and was promoted on July 31st. And in his first at-bat with the team, he hit a home run. It was a pinch hit home run.
Funny how that happens.
And then these past 2 seasons, he's actually been in the Korean League with the KT Wiz. Actually, Marte did take time off for baseball around 2009-ish. Actually, that was for the birth of his son. And I feel so bad for his family.
I do too. I mean, it's never easy when we see these things in baseball, and it seems to happen. It seems to happen a lot with baseball players, and like I said, it's one of those things you wish wouldn't, but it happens, and unfortunately, you have to deal with it.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. Like, when Jose Fernandez died, I believe, at least in our class, there was a little talk about would they start monitoring, players' actions off of the field. But, I mean, sometimes when these car crashes happen, and it's not the MLB player's fault, and it's just a tragedy that occurs, and it just sucks that it just seems to be happening, a little more occurrence with Tavares a couple of years ago, Fernandez back in September, and now Marte and Ventura.
Yeah, I don't think that this is anything that the Major League Baseball can do anything to put a stop to. I mean, what can you do? Outlaw car crashes? Yeah, and it's just it's horrible.
It is. But hopefully, I mean, the Royals are going to honor Ventura. The whole Kansas City is basically going to honor Ventura, which is a class thing, and
I've always had a lot of respect for their organization.
Absolutely.
Like I said, it's a very, very classy move, and it'll be a tearjerker, folks.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now that we have mentioned Ventura and Marte, let's try to move on to a bit of a lighter topic, the Super Bowl.
Yes, indeed. Super Bowl set.
Super Bowl is set, and, well, I mean, originally, if we remember my original prediction from episode number 1, the one that didn't involve the Giants. And I said the Steelers and the Packers. And then, of course, last week I mentioned the Patriots probably were going to win after the Boswell game. And now here we are.
And wait, was anybody picking the Falcons? Because I know I didn't.
No, I mean, neither one of us picked the Falcons, but a lot of people are saying, it's no surprise that they choked to the Falcons. Well, in your opinion, the NFC Championship game, did the Falcons win it, or did Aaron Rodgers and the Packers lose it?
I would say that Atlanta is a good enough team that exposed a lot of the Packers' deficiencies that were masked because Aaron Rodgers was basically playing otherworldly. I feel like their defense had a lot of holes. Their offense, although Aaron Rodgers can put the ball pretty much wherever he wants, you cover those receivers and they will they will either drop it or, like you said, you can't cover them effectively. So
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily a case of the Packers just being off. I think it's always there.
It wasn't like the offense wasn't trying. You saw
they were.
Fighting. They were really trying. They were just up against the tough Atlanta defense.
Yes, and injuries being what they are to their defensive line. I mean,
Jordy wasn't 100% on the offense.
Yeah, and like I said, all those factors I think kind of came together to kind of, for lack of a better word, expose the Packers. I mean, have the rest of the league kind of see what their problems are, because all the good quarterbacking in the world doesn't paper over a bad defense.
Right, and Matt Ryan, of course, hell of a game from him, hell of a season from him. That's the thing. It's like Matt Ryan, you knew he was good, but not great. But who would have known that this season he'd break out like the way he did?
God knows I didn't. And that man is blander than dishwater.
I mean, look at your two Super Bowl quarterbacks. You have one who has been the face of his team since the 2002 Super Bowl win, who has been, what?
2009 it was. Wait, you're talking about Rodgers, right?
No.
Oh.
I'm talking about the Super Bowl, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
You have one person who was the face of his team since 2002, the Super Bowl win in 2002. You had, and
Brady, Brady, yeah,
right. The guy who's been one of the faces of the NFL, and the guy who was suspended for 4 games this season.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And then you have another one who was drafted in 2008, who took his team, far a couple of times, but not far, Super Bowl far.
Close, but not all the way.
Right. And as you said, Leonard and Dishwater.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks are boring. I mean, they can't all be Cam Newton.
That's true. That's true.
It just seems it is going to be so funny if the Patriots win this game, which there is an excellent chance that they might. And Goodell has to hand them that trophy. Has to hand Brady that trophy.
That's been one of the talking points of what's going to happen when that happens. But I know a lot of people who are rooting against the Patriots.
Oh, I don't know if I'm one of them.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them. But because of my fantasy playoff challenge, I am hoping for a shootout, and I'm going to predict it is going to be a shootout of a Super Bowl.
Always playing both sides, huh, Tom?
What?
What did you do? What? I hope the team loses, but I hope he does well.
Well, that's how fantasy works.
Yeah, I know. I don't get fantasy sports, but I'm telling you, I am telling you right now, and keep this in mind if they do win. When Goodell goes to shake Brady's hand is going to be coated in something disgusting.
You think Brady would go that far?
Fill in the blanks for what that substance will be, but I guarantee you his hand will be caked in it, and he's going to watch Goodell have to shake his hand, and then Brady's going to laugh.
Use your imagination, people.
Yeah, like I said, use your imagination. But
you will have to use your imagination if the Atlanta Falcons somehow pull off the great victory, which I think is still very possible.
Yes, it absolutely is possible. Let's not discredit what the Falcons have done this far. It's no fluke.
It is absolutely no fluke. It is honestly one of the most breakout NFL seasons that I have ever seen. Comes from that team.
Yeah, it's and Julio Jones,
Sanu.
Yeah, Mohamed Sanu and
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matt Ryan. Who's the running back?
Freeman. Devonta Freeman.
Yeah, Devonta Freeman. Yeah, and it's gonna be fun to watch.
I can't wait. when we mentioned the Patriots, if the Patriots do win, actually, I'm not sure if I can give all the credit in the world to Tom Brady. I'm not sure if I can do it. I think if the Patriots win, I mean, the fact that the Patriots got to the Super Bowl so far, I think that just shows the coaching ability of one Bill Belichick. Which actually, fun fact, 17 years ago, the Patriots hired Bill Belichick.
Damn.
I mean, didn't they actually... he was supposed to be the Jets coach.
He was the head coach of the Jets. And the head coach, I think, not Rich Cote. Was it Rich Cote? Somebody had resigned, and then he was next in line, and they were all waiting on bated breath for him to take the job. But then all of a sudden they get a fax from him that the morning after saying that he resigns as HC of the NYJ. You don't know that story?
I know that story, but it's just poor Jets. Jets.
See, that's why I kind of root for the Patriots because I love twisting the knife with Jets fans because a lot of them are smug, and even though I hate Boston area fans,
right, which is why I hate the Patriots.
But I have nothing to fear from the Patriots because the Giants went to the Super Bowl and beat Brady twice. So
have you seen the memes going around of there was one where it was it was Matt Ryan, one of the Falcons coaches, and the meme had Matt Ryan asking the coach, why'd you leave this book in my locker? And the coach is like, what book? And Matt Ryan is holding a book, and it's something like How to Beat the Patriots by Eli Manning.
See? But I'm telling you, I have nothing to fear from that man. That's why I can watch him dismantle the rest of the league, and I don't have to worry.
I'm sorry I was looking goofy before. I'm just thinking of, twisted history, alternative history. Imagine if Belichick had actually stayed with the Jets.
They would have. I'm not sure if they would have won 5 Super Bowls because
I don't know about that either. But they would have had 1 or 2, I think.
Yeah, well, God knows that man's a criminal mastermind.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. The fact that he took those, not first-string quarterbacks in the first 4 weeks of the season, and the team produced a 3-1 record is unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you think anybody would give a shit about Jimmy Garoppolo any other way if it wasn't Belichick pulling the strings?
No. And Garoppolo, he might end up being the next Jets quarterback. Although I have my reserves, I have my predictions that it is going to be Tony Romo.
Then again, throw a rock, you're going to hit somebody who has a non-zero chance of being the next Jets head quarterback. My mailman could be getting that job.
Beautiful. All right, Nick.
They could have taken my fat ass out of the uniform, and they'd put me. You know what? You won't embarrass us. Here, take the ball. But I will embarrass you. Don't care. Do it.
Would you go to an open Jets training camp then and try to audition to be the quarterback?
No, because I'm not entirely certain that Rex Ryan doesn't come back in disguise sometime. And
oh God, no!
I am totally convinced now that he's out of a job, you will see him in disguise with a fake mustache. You will see him in disguise with a fake mustache and sunglasses, and he will hang around the practices and pee in the Gatorade.
Oh my God! You say you stay with in a disguise of glasses and everything, and I'm thinking, what's his name? Bobby Valentine from the Mets in 1999.
Yes.
All right, Nick. Final word on this Super Bowl storyline stuff.
Well, yeah. We're definitely we're going to get more into this next week as we get closer, but it's going to be a hell of a game, folks. Here's hoping.
Again, I think I'm predicting a shootout. We are going to see touchdowns aplenty in the next Super Bowl.
See, now that we have time, you have a chance to change your predictions from this episode to the next episode. So you don't have to lock in anything yet. So
I want to see what happens this week when they have the media days and they have the practices and everything first.
And we'll have plenty of storylines to go on that one. Plenty of material.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network.
All right, Nick, you want to introduce this next segment?
Yes. And here on the Unspoken Podcast, we are introducing a new segment. And, oh my goodness, it's not going to be a week-to-week thing, but it's going to be, it definitely should be a thing. And why the hell is this important? Our inaugural installment will be the NFL Pro Bowl. Why the hell is this important?
I was going to just go off on this thing. But now, here's the thing I mentioned last week. If they had a skills challenge, that would be cool. That would might, change some things up. And guess what? Yesterday they had a skills challenge.
Finally.
They had a skills challenge. I watched it, and guess what? I loved it. And apparently, a lot of people loved it. It took you this long. It took you this long to figure it out, NFL. You couldn't look over at your brothers in the NHL to figure it out. You couldn't look over at the NBA to figure it out. You couldn't look at the MLB Home Run Derby to figure it out. Although I think you did have a skills challenge like 10 years ago. But, of course, everyone blew it off because, the Pro Bowl was after the Super Bowl. After the Super Bowl, what the hell is there to watch for football when you already know what happened?
Pretty much nothing.
Right. It took you this long to figure it out. I don't think I'll still watch the actual game, but all the stuff leading up to it.
You see, is this still important though? I mean, we have what we need. Do we really need to keep tuning into the Pro Bowl? Because it's obvious it gives a shit.
Right, it's obvious. But that's the thing. I think last week we talked about how it's like an all offensive game, but if you look at the NBA or NHL All-Star game, it's the same thing.
It is, and at least they're the NHL took steps to try and spice it up with the 3-on-3. I don't know if it worked.
The 4 division. You mean also the 4 division thing?
Yeah,
it's all the divisions have a team.
And I'm not sure if it worked entirely as they wanted it to, but at least it made it interesting.
It's original.
Exactly.
The NBA, I don't think they can really give a shit about the All-Star game. Their ratings come from the Saturday Night Slam Dunk Contest.
All the usual suspects will be, there's a certain amount of, certain amount of people are going to tune in because they have, you got LeBron James, you got Kevin Love, you got Steph Curry, you got Draymond Green, you got Kevin Durant, you got your superstars.
Right,
people have tune in to watch superstars.
But you also have people who are going to watch on the Saturday night festivities because people love to see slam dunks.
Guilty.
Right. I'll probably catch some myself just to see, who's going to pull off the heart-stopping, oh shit kind of slam dunk trick.
But at what point, and I put this to you as an honest query, at what point did the Pro Bowl game, I'm talking about the game itself, not any of the festivities or any of the kind of skills competitions, since when did it become background noise in terms of essential TV viewing?
That's a good question. I gotta really look up the history of the Pro Bowl. I have a thing in front of me, so let's do that right now. The only All-Star game that really mattered for the past nearly 15 years has been the MLB All-Star game, just because they had the stipulation of whoever wins, whichever league won home field advantage in the World Series.
Which they're actually taking that away. So
right, this is going to be the first year that they don't do that.
So it may actually take a backslide back into irrelevance. Here's
the thing: I'm just going to read off what it says on the Wikipedia, just because it's easy. The The 2012 game was met with criticism from fans and sports writers for the lack of quality play by the players. See below. Okay. Actually, this has been going on for decades, but in the last few years, it's been, shouting from the fans, shouting from the players, like, this means nothing.
Yeah, and that leads to the other question. Should it matter? Should it be important, or should we just say, do what you want? Should we? I mean,
I feel like the skills competition, was good. It brought something to the table. But I was going to mention to you before we started this thing. The problem football has is it does it at the end of the season and not at the middle. Which, I mean, I'm not sure if things would change much if it was during the middle of the season. But, towards the end, since it's towards the end of the season, you're not going to get anybody from the Superbowl teams.
And they're going to be fresh in people's minds, so they want to see, let's see this guy go up against everybody.
Right, and some players, since it's towards the end of the season now, some players are going to choose to have off-season surgeries now, so they might not play in the Pro Bowl.
And do you think, is there a step? Because I feel like there's something there that can make the any kind of all-star competition, be it a game or anything else. There is something there, some element that's missing that makes this watchable. But I can't quite figure out what that is.
And you know what's the problem? I don't think the NFL can figure that out either.
But that's evident. But maybe if you had just done a skills competition as your all-star game, as your all-star festivities, maybe people would pay attention more.
Maybe.
I can't be sure.
I mean, that's the thing, because at least now the NFL has that, because the other three leagues, even if you don't tune into the All-Star game, they have All-Star festivities that are worth watching. In the MLB, you have choices. You have the Home Run Derby. You have all the minor league All-Star games. You have the Futures game. The night after the All-Star game, you have the ESPY Awards. In the NBA, you have the three-point contest. You have the slam dunk contest. You have the freshman-sophomore game. In the NHL, you have the skills competitions. Now the NFL has a little something to say, okay, here's what we can offer. So even if you don't want to watch the game itself, you can have, something to watch. I find it funny, by the way, going back to MLB briefly, the whole stipulation about the World Series home field advantage got started because of complaints of another All-Star game. Remember, 2002, they declared in Milwaukee that game a draw because they were running out of pitchers. So after 11 innings, they declared it a draw because, they were running out of pitchers. They only got their players injured. And the fans just let them have it. They were pissed.
See, do you feel like more people pay attention to the MLB All-Star Game, or do you think it's kind of uniform for all the leagues?
I don't know, man. Because, baseball is going to have a resurgence. Let me tell you. I've said that before in this podcast. I'll say it again. 2017 is going to be a resurgence for baseball. But, baseball recently hasn't been what it was back in 2002. Because now a lot of people say, football is going to become the new American pastime. And, well, look at the All-Star game for that, as we've been mentioning for the past how many minutes now.
Yeah. And like I said, it's hard. Well, like you said, it's hard to tell because one, ratings are not really a good barometer because you can watch something, but you can hate what you're watching.
Right.
You can put it on, but if you're not paying attention to it, it's just background noise while you do your taxes or you do anything else. Literally anything.
Another funny thing is they've moved the Pro Bowl now. Now it's not going to be Hawaii for the next few years. Starting this year, they're going to have it in Florida. And I just say that's just Roger Goodell trying to cut some costs. Like, yes. He doesn't want to pay, so many players and their families for a Hawaiian vacation, essentially.
And I think for a lot of it, that was a perk for a lot of them. That's what I don't want to play, but hey, I get to go to Hawaii.
I get to take my family. We just go to Hawaii, hang out with other football players, stuff like that. All right, Nick, final word on this topic.
I still must ask the question, why the hell is this important? Because I do not feel like I'm getting an answer, and I don't feel as if I can come up with a solution. So I will say again, the NFL Pro Bowl, why the hell is this important?
And I'm going to say I think the skills competition gives it a little more meaning, little bit, but it doesn't help solve the complete problem. And I don't think moving a game to Florida solves the complete problem. So I will, again, agree with you. And I will also say the Pro Bowl. Why the hell is this important? We now move on to another topic. Speaking of All-Star games, let's mention the NHL All-Star game. I mean, that is this weekend as well. I think it's on the same day, just in the afternoon.
Yeah, it is. And it's going... Excuse me for saying this, but there are some years I've been, oh, wait, is that this weekend?
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. The NHL, it's the redheaded stepchild of the Big Four. I'm sorry.
It is, and that's a damn shame. It's
right.
Of course, if we lived in Canada, it'd be a different story.
Right. Not to be stereotypical.
Yeah.
But when you have something called Hockey Night in Canada and you have two Canadian teams playing, it essentially talks about the popularity of hockey in Canada right there.
But is the fact that we don't know, we sometimes forget when the NHL All-Star Game is symptomatic of the fact that it's not really as popular in this country, or is it that the NHL is not making it interesting enough?
I don't know, because the NHL is interesting for me, and I will go on record on saying this. I think the NHL playoffs, well, actually, I don't know if I want to go on with a full statement, because if this was before 2015, I would state right now that the NHL playoffs are the best playoffs of any of the Big Four. Now MLB is having a little bit of resurgence with their new talent and such, so MLB is like a close, but essentially MLB playoffs and the NHL playoffs are the best playoffs. I know the Super Bowl is the most watched game, one of the most watched events on TV, but I think people need to pay attention to the road to the World Series and the road to the Stanley Cup more, especially the road to the Stanley Cup.
Especially since, when the Rangers made their cup run in 2014, that was really the first time that I noticed, what you're saying, that, hey, this shit is pretty exciting. And it's almost it's
for me. Right, but for me, even last year, when the Rangers were out first round, I could, randomly any night of the week, whether it was Sunday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, I could just tune into a hockey game, a playoff hockey game. And they would produce some of the best sports games, not even hockey, sports games I've ever seen.
That is a bold statement. That is a bold statement.
It's a bold statement, but I'm telling you, we just have to look at this year's NFL playoffs. From the first round to the craptastic conference championship games. That's it's a crapshoot. Because you can have, since it's single elimination, because of how the style of football, you could have crap for playoffs. NHL, there's less of a chance you're going to have crap for playoffs. I think there's even a better chance you're going to have great playoffs. The last few years have been phenomenal.
I don't know whether that's due to them actually working with the seeding system, or whether the talent of the teams that are involved.
It's also the unpredictability factor, because if you notice, before 2010, before the Blackhawks went on their little run and the Kings won 2 cups, the same team didn't win every year for the Stanley Cup.
It was usually The Western Conference of the last couple of years has, well, excluding this year, but they've kind of been on a bit of a run before the Blackhawks.
Or you can say 2009 because the Penguins won last year, so now they've won 2009 and 2016.
Hey, because you're getting the big teams out of the Western Conference.
Right.
The Capitals will always be there.
Right. I was going to say, but the Metropolitan Division is honestly, trying to not sound biased here as a Rangers fan, but I think the Metropolitan Division is honestly one of the best divisions that there is. You have the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have been on a hell of a roll this season and for the past couple of seasons. You have the Caps, you have the Penguins, you have the Rangers, you have the Islanders last year and maybe 2 years ago surprised a lot of people.
And which makes what's happened this year more disappointing. But
right. I mean, but as we were mentioning before, trying to go back to the All-Star game, I love this new All-Star game format that they have. So let's go through the teams already. First, in the Atlantic Division, you have Austin Matthews from the Toronto Maple Leafs, who I think is honestly one of the best young athletes out there. And I will say he just might be the next Wayne Gretzky.
The kid is electric.
Wayne Gretzky.
I would not go that far, but I
said might. I said might. I did not say guarantee.
No, that's a good point because every time somebody says somebody is the next Wayne Gretzky, they always end up not being the next Wayne Gretzky.
But I say might. There's a chance. You can't deny it.
Yeah, but not to take away from the kid's talent. I mean, like I said, the kid's electrifying. Right.
You have Nikita Kucherov of the Lightning, Trocheck of the Panthers, Marchand of the Bruins, Nielsen of the Red Wings, Okposo of the Sabres. Then on defense, you have Carlson of the Senators, Weber of the Canadiens, Hedman of the Lightning, and goalies, you've got two pretty good goalies. You have Montreal Canadiens' Carey Price, who is the captain of the team, and Tuukka Rask.
Tuukka Rask, oh God, I hate that guy.
Is it Boston?
The Rangers down, and God, his stupid face. Ugh.
And then you have the Metropolitan, and then you got two guys, as we said before, who are the faces of the NHL. I don't know if I can say I'm a fan of them, but they are who they are. The Captain Crosby and Ovechkin. I mean, I've got a feeling the Metropolitan Division might just win this little mini tournament this year because you have Crosby, Ovechkin, you have Wayne Simmons of Philadelphia. You have Taylor Hall of the Devils. Tavares of the Islanders. Yeah. You have Cam Atkinson of the Blue Jackets. I believe he was replaced. He was a replacement. He replaced Evgeny Malkin, who dropped out because of injury. You have on defense. You have Seth Jones of the Blue Jackets. You have Ryan McDonough of the Rangers and Justin Falk of the Hurricanes. The goalies, you have Braden Holtby of the Capitals, and then you have Bobrovsky. Yes,
fucking Bobrovsky.
You've seen the Jay and Dan stuff about Bobrovsky? Bobrovsky.
It hurts.
I just love saying his name though, Bobrovsky.
Yeah, it's fun to interject into conversation. Just whenever you're out on a date or say at church, just go Bobrovsky. See what happens.
Jay and Dan
Unbound.
Jay and Dan from Fox always talk about how it sounds like a detective name, like one of those old school police detective shows. You're on the case, Bobrovsky. Don't happen what happened last time.
Give me a badge, Bobrovsky.
All right.
But the Subban, the PK Subban didn't make it though, did he?
He's on the Central. You remember
Yeah. He was in that very embarrassing trade from the off season. Because I'd forgotten what division the Predators were in. So
they are in the Central. PK Subban actually is the captain of the Central Division team, and he is one of the defensemen along with Ryan Suter of the Wild and Duncan Keith of the Chicago Blackhawks. On the Minnesota Wild, we forgot to mention, is having a hell of a season. You had the Wild versus the Blue Jackets. One was on a 12-game winning streak. The other was like on a 15-16-game winning streak.
Who would have thought Tortorella could actually coach this team? Coach a team.
Well, he is a Stanley Cup champion. Don't forget that. He did win the Cup in 2004 with the Lightning.
Every time his scout, you just wanted to bounce quarters off his face to see if he would react.
I just want to see, what he would say at the post-game conference.
Yeah, there's a good chance he would actually reach into somebody's chest and rip their heart out.
Or he would just have like one-liners like he sucked.
Yeah, you appreciate that kind of bluntness in NHL coaches, because NHL coaches, unlike NFL coaches or MLB skippers, they tend not to give 1/10 of a shit. And NHL managers do, because I think it's dealing with the New York media, but Tortorella, I think there was a time when he was coaching the Rangers, there was this urge within him, right in the back of his mind, that I want to find every reporter in here and rip their goddamn heads off.
Well, especially Brooksy, who we always have to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay, the rest of the Central team, you have in the forwards, you have Tyler Seguin of the Stars, Patrick Kane of the Blackhawks, Patrick Lane of the Jets. Oh, God. Kane and Lane.
Rhyming. It works.
You have McKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche, Tarasenko of the Blues, and Towles also of the Blackhawks. Goalies, you have the Wild, Stubnik, and Crawford from the Blackhawks. So essentially, you have mostly Wild and Blackhawks on the Central Division team, which is fair, as expected.
Yeah, kind of makes me wish there was a player named Patrick Spain. I'm sorry, I won't make that joke anymore.
And in the Pacific, you have, as the captain, another great young athlete in Connor McDavid, who could essentially, I think, is the rival to Austin Matthews.
Yeah, they definitely compare in terms of skill level.
MLB with Trout and Harper, that's McDavid Matthews.
Yeah, especially since the two of them come in as basically the franchise saviors.
Right, the Islanders and Leafs have been on small rises now since they've come in. Going on the rest of the Pacific Division, you have Jeff Carter of the Kings, Ryan Kessler of the Ducks, Johnny Gaudreau of the Flames, Bo Horvat of the Canucks, Joe Pavelski of the Sharks.
Joe Pavelski, yeah.
Yeah. You have on defense, you have Brent Burns of the Sharks. You have Drew Doughty of the Kings, Cam Fowler of the Ducks. And then goalie, you have Mike Smith of the Coyotes and Martin Jones of the Sharks. Was the Coyotes pick just a mercy pick?
Yeah, I don't know if they could have gone with Anthony DeClaire.
I still feel like the Rangers, Anthony DeClaire. Like, it would have been great if we could have kept him.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it would have been worth it if I could see Brent Burns just catch a puck in his beard.
Oh, my God.
I'm convinced.
I'm picturing that right now. That'd be incredible.
I'm convinced that thing actually is alive. It's like a Sarlacc pit.
Oh, God.
I'm just convinced if you shoot a puck towards his face, the beard will reach out, snatch it, and then swallow it.
It would probably save better than Henrik Lundqvist.
Oh. Ooh.
I'm sorry. I still feel like now I feel like, I said it before 2 years ago when Cam Talbot got traded away for nothing. I said the Rangers are going to regret this. And we do. I love Lundqvist, but you got to be fair. I regret it.
I like Antti Raanta, though.
I like Antti Raanta, too, but, freaking Cam Talbot saved the 2015 season for the Rangers. I was there for the game when Henrik Lundqvist went down. So it's like
you were there. Oh.
Oh, shut up. I can already tell where that's going.
No. I'm curious. You were there, right?
I was there. When he got hit in the throat, yes, and then he blasted the whole game. And then it's like, after that, it's like, oh, God, the Rangers are going to suck. And no, Cam Talbot really, helped that team win its second half of the season. And it's like, then in the playoffs came around and Lundqvist was back. It's like, okay, Cam, you're just going to sit on the bench now for the rest of the postseason.
Well, yeah, my brother who's a bigger Ranger fan than me, he has a couple of choice words for Alain Vigneault's coaching decisions, and none of them can be repeated on the podcast airwaves, folks.
Maybe they can, but
every single person of every single creed and religion.
Now without doing that what's it called? It's like the views of so and so.
The reviews of those conducting the Unspoken Podcast do not reflect the reviews of the Undetermined Podcast Network. Please advise.
No, I was going to say the views of your brother don't necessarily express the views of Talaveno and Nick Ventura.
Yeah, good point. No, that's a good point.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network.
Last topic, and we're going to the world of basketball. Hey, we got some drama. We have drama in our hometown.
The train that will not stop exploding. It is Carmelo Anthony. Supposedly, the Knicks are, and by proxy, Phil Jackson, very, very interested in trading him. And according to the New York Daily News, there could be a prospective trade with the Los Angeles Clippers involving one Austin Rivers, the son of Doc Rivers, and proof that nepotism actually does exist in the NBA. And any other trade, I'm not quite clear on the specifics, but apparently any kind of trade would also involve a package of players, none of which are really very good. So I think Phil Jackson has his finger on the dynamite. He's ready to light the fuse, but something I don't even have anything funny to say. This team is it's a self-opening piñata. It's a gift. A gift.
You want to keep going? Because I know it seems like you have a lot to say about this team.
I am just sick and tired of hearing about Phil Jackson and Carmelo, because I have to hear it every day on the Michael K. Show. I have to hear every steakhead from Staten Island calling in and going, yeah, it's Vinny from Staten Island. You're on the air. And I can't deal with the complaining. It's making me go nuts.
You know I am giving you the...
I'm not saying you.
In case all of you don't know out there, I am from Staten Island. So...
I should have said from Syosset. Because that becomes a problem too.
You should have. But to be quite frank, I love the New York Knicks. I try to love the New York Knicks. It sucked when we were a losing team back then. It sucks we are a losing team now. I don't think there is any solution to save this team. I think they are a broken mess. And I'm honestly so tempted to jump off the wagon. I'm sorry.
See, I might be going with you there, Tom. The Knicks don't mean as much to me as you know. I thought, especially since the Rangers play in the same building. And I think I said it last week or 2 weeks ago. I love college basketball at this point more than I love watching the NBA. What has to do with the Knicks? It's just by osmosis, since we both of us live in the New York area. We're subjected to this, and you know what? I want Carmelo Anthony to be traded because I want him to be happy. I want him to be happy and be successful and win a ring. Because
at this point, I want him traded so we can have the 04-05 Knicks back, who sucked. I would rather live in that era where there's nobodies. Like the only real somebody would be Kristaps Porzingis. I would rather have that at this point. I mean, that's the thing. Wait. Here's even the bigger thing. We have Derrick Rose, Joakim Knicks from like 10, 15 years ago. Why?
Why? Because this team will not win jack shit as long as Dolan is the owner. It is a simple fact. It is pretty much plain as day. But, like I said, I want Carmelo to be happy. I want him to win a ring. I want him to be in a culture, in a team that actually wants him, in the front office.
I just want him out. I just want him out. His ball hogging ass out. His drama creating ass out.
I don't see. I gotta disagree with you there, Tom, because I don't think it's entirely his fault.
Not entirely his fault, but someone has to have some blame. I think this blame, he has to have some blame. I think Phil Jackson needs to have some blame. My heart still broke. What was it, last Saturday night when they went for the game-winning shot? It went in and then it went right out.
You just consider the source.
But it's like at this point, why should we be any surprised? That is the Knicks this season. That sums the Knicks season up, in a nutshell.
Yeah, you can't see him right now, folks, but he's face palming pretty hard.
Me?
And
yeah.
Deliver us from the Knicks, please. Deliver us from the Knicks. That's pretty much just the.
I go off about how I hate bandwagoners, but honestly, at this point, I'm ready to just, I gotta look at the NBA bandwagon form and I gotta see what the hell I can do, because I don't know if there's any saving the Knicks. I really, really don't. And it's so sad that, I get it. Basketball is the bigger sport than hockey, so MSG will always give the main channel, whenever they have the scheduling conflicts, the main channel will go to the Knicks. But I really disagree. I think performance should have a factor, and there are some weekends I think the Rangers should get priority.
And our boy Jim Gallagher said as much when he gave his presentation at our class, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I know he said, I don't know. No, the only memory I remember having it was saying the Knicks will always go first. I'm giving my opinion that I think it's sad that has to be the case. I understand why, but I don't like it.
I know he didn't give a reason why because he can't, but I think that's pretty much the gist of what he said, where the Knicks will kind of always get preference over the Islanders or the Rangers or the Devils.
The Devils, Islanders, I will understand because they're technically not New York City teams. The Devils are New Jersey. The Islanders are Long Island. But they have contracts with MSG for the minor channels like the 2 and the Plus and the Plus 2. But I still feel like the main channel should be the Rangers, especially after how they nearly won a Stanley Cup, how they won the Eastern Conference Championship in 2014, and all this recent success they had. That just shows you how much I feel like the Rangers are becoming just as big of a team here as the Knicks, and for good reason. I think you just have to look at the Knicks this season.
If only they can take that next step, well, God knows the Knicks aren't going anywhere. Could this take upwards of a decade, even more, to get out of? I don't know.
Like I said, I don't know if I can be patient anymore. If I have to be an NBA fan, I don't know if I can honestly say I'm a Knicks fan. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is either. If you bring in Phil Jackson, you get Joakim Noah, you get the likes of Joakim Noah,
Derrick Rose,
Carmelo Anthony, Kristaps Porzingis. What did you say?
Courtney Lee, Brandon Jennings.
So they've won maybe 6 out of their last 17 games, even with all that talent. What's the solution? I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know if I could jump the bandwagon. I think I would just not pay attention.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to pay attention to my college basketball. That's it. I'm going to root for our Hofstra Pride, and I'm going to root for my Rider Bronx. I think that's really going to be it.
It's pretty much all we can do.
And I hate to end stuff on a Debbie Downer on that note, but that is going to bring us to the end of this edition of the Unspoken Podcast. Next week, we're going to have more Super Bowl talk. It's going to be primarily Super Bowl talk. We're going to have Super Bowl storylines continuous. We're going to talk about Super Bowl commercials next week.
Hooray!
The truest blending of sports and pop culture next week. The truest blending I could think of are the Super Bowl commercials.
And I mean that hooray in a non-ironic way. I am actually excited. I cannot wait.
So I'm Tom Yordano, and that was Nick Ventura, and this has been the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. We'll see you next week for episode number 6. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.